Good afternoon, everyone. This is Mon Kurian going live today from Tiruvalla Tiju's Academy. Hope all of you are doing good. So let's start today's session. So in the last session, if you all remember, I had been discussing about the four criteria that are useful or that are used in your speaking evaluation. So I'll be giving today some more tips for each of these assessment criteria. The last one was the four of them are the fluency, grammatical range and accuracy, then you have your pronunciation, and then your vocabularies. So let's see what are these tips today that I'm going to give you. So let's start with the first slide. So some important tips to impress at your test for each assessment criteria. So use these tips for improving fluency and coherence. So as you know, 25% score namukku fluency and coherence ilana varuna. So what are the tips for improving your fluency and coherence? So make a list of fillers or hesitations devices, including a combination of short words and longer pauses for buying more thinking time. Right? So normally when the speaking module or when the speaking is going on with the examiners, you would need more time to think, right? ചിന്തിക്കാൻ വേണ്ടി കുറച്ച് time വേണം നമുക്ക്. So these times you can make a list of fillers or hesitation devices, including a combination of short words and longer phrases for buying more thinking time. Right? Well, actually, basically, you know, I mean, the thing is, that's an interesting question. The point I'm trying to make is, how should I say what I mean is, and the list goes on. So make sure when you're practicing, you incorporate all these fillers and all these words, phrases, so that you can extend your answers and get more time to think. Okay, second tip endannu namukku nokam. So the second tip is make a table with a range of cohesive devices for different functions. This should include signposting phrases, referencing devices, and connectors for different functions. Example, first of all, most importantly, having said that, while at the same time, on the contrary, moreover, furthermore, referencing pronouns such as this, it, these, those, etc. So you can make a table, keep it with you, and when you're practicing, use this table as your practice in your practice sessions. So this is going to help you. Okay, third tip namukku nokam. While practicing, keep the list of above items and in a table in front of you and use as many as you can. So idellam nammude front, you write it down in a piece of paper, keep it in front of you, or write it down in a notebook, keep it, and when you're practicing, try to incorporate or use these words whenever you are practicing. Record yourself for later evaluation. So as I mentioned before, നേരത്തെ സ്ലൈഡ്സിലൊക്കെ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ട്, try to record yourself. All of us have smartphones nowadays. Try to record yourself and then play it back. Listen to the recording, watch the recording, and see where you are lacking. Right? If it is these, try to incorporate, and then you can self-evaluate yourself. Listen to your recording and tick the phrases used from the table. Tick each word the number of times you hear. This will tell you if you are repeating any cohesive device or fillers. Adutha tip nokam. Make sure you find other words or phrases to replace the ones used repeatedly. Practice using these. So synonyms use either poem. That's also a good idea. You can even ask someone else to notice it if these have been used naturally and in a balanced way. Whether you are forcing it, nammal force ചെയ്തിട്ടാണോ ഇത് പറയുന്നത്, or these are all coming out naturally. അത് നമ്മൾ ആരെങ്കിലും ജഡ്ജ് ചെയ്യുവാണെങ്കിൽ, if you have you're sitting with your tutor or your trainer, he or she can help you out in this, or your friend, whoever is practicing with you, right? And the other one, the next tip, do not come back to the idea once shared. Sequencing ideas can also help avoid repetition. So try to sequence ideas, and this can help avoid repetitions. അടുത്ത എന്താ നമുക്ക് നോക്കാം. Ensure every new sentence brings in new information related to the main idea expressed initially. Example, begin with starting your main idea, explain it in more detail and try to give examples and opinions. Right. Last tip നമുക്ക് നോക്കാം. Anecdote. Storytelling can be a good way to ensure development of idea and information, as you are less likely to repeat these informations already shared. So these are a couple of tips, not a couple of tips. I believe there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 tips that I prepared for you guys that's going to help you in your fluency and coherence. ഇത് നിങ്ങളുടെ ഫ്ലുവൻസിയും കോഹറൻസിനെ ഹെൽപ്പ് ചെയ്യും. So go over it, try to practice as much as possible, make a list that can help you, keep it in front of yourself whenever you are practicing adinte table allengi whenever you are recording yourself, keep it in front of yourself and then start practicing it. Record edittu cheyanera practice oru cue card edukkuva, take a cue. That's the best thing that you can do. Oru cue card allengi oru task card edutittu randomly select prepare yourself, use these as your fillers and your help, your guide for your fluency and coherence. Okay, അടുത്ത tip നമുക്ക് നോക്കാം. How you can these tips can help your lexical resources or your vocabulary. Here are some ideas for expanding lexical resources. So avoid copying the examiner's words or language in the task. Paraphrase, that is saying the same thing in different words, or use synonyms, words with the same meaning. Different words with the same meaning. So whenever you have given a cue card, always paraphrase the question. Do not start away with the same question edutittu start edittu don't answer. It's always good to paraphrase the question and then start. Not to use the same word over and over again. Use synonyms. Synonyms ellarku ariyam, it's words with the same meaning. So there are many apps that you can find in Google. All you need to do is go to the Play Store and download it and keep it in your phone, and this is going to help you to get more synonyms and you can use them for your practice sessions. Do not paraphrase every word unless you are sure of the meaning of the synonym. Some synonyms, contronyms may be inappropriate in context or change the meaning overall. For example, our teacher overlooks to monitor something, our progress in class. Our teacher overlooks or ignores our mistakes sometimes. So did you get the contronyms? Ivide nammal contronyms manasilakkam. So our teacher overlooks, that is to monitor something, she takes care or he takes care of our progress in class. And the other one is our teacher overlooks or she or he simply ignores our mistakes sometimes. Chelapam mistake iditronangi she ignores it. So make sure you are using these synonyms appropriately. Do not paraphrase every word unless you are sure of the meaning of the synonym. Fair enough. Let's move over to the next tip. Adutha tip endanu namakku nokam. Try to explain the concept if you can't think of a word to express yourself. That's also a good idea, to explain the concept if you can't think of a word to express yourself. Avoid repetition of words like nouns, verbs and adjectives. Use their synonyms, preferably more advanced ones. But these advanced ones, make sure you know the meaning when you're using it, because trying to use more advanced ones in the examination, and if you don't know the meaning or if you don't know how it sounds or the pronunciation, it's going to be a negative for you. So make sure you use the advanced synonyms or the advanced vocabulary that you're using. Those are already practiced and you know the meaning of those words. Otherwise, it's going to be a negative for you because you are going to say a word that is totally not relevant in that context in your examination. So make sure that you know what you're speaking. You've already practiced it, you know the meaning and how it sounds, the pronunciation as well. Okay, more tips on how to improve your vocabulary. Reading newspapers, magazines or watching sitcoms. News from native English countries are a good way of developing vocabulary for routine conversations. That's a very good. I have mentioned before, reading is one habit that we have lost nowadays because of the smartphones and the tabs and the laptops that we have. So reading will incorporate a lot of things that is going to help you with your vocabulary. You will be coming with new words and you learn new words, right? And if those words are difficult to pronounce, you can learn how to pronounce them properly. So make sure you have a habit of reading. Okay, the next point. While watching or reading, look for new words and their use in context. Example, meaning, collocation, words that commonly go together, and the level of formality. So, നമ്മൾ എന്തെങ്കിലും വായിക്കുവാണെങ്കിൽ while watching, even if it's watching, if you want, there are options now where you can get the subtitles. നമ്മൾ എന്തെങ്കിലും, if you're watching something in a native English language and it's difficult for you in the beginning, some words or some phrases namakku manasilanilling, there are always options nowadays in your laptop or in your phone that you can switch on the subtitles namakku edukam, right? And the time they are saying something or you're watching that program, you can read what they are saying. So that's also going to help you, or that will be a benefit for you, right? And if you don't understand, you can just pause and look up for the meaning of it, or the synonyms and how it's pronounced, right? So the next tip, make a list of words and word families for common IELTS topics. Include new vocabulary and their synonyms. So most of you, I believe, know by now, most of you who are practicing or going to institutes and other or taking online classes, you know how the common questions that are mostly asked in the warm-up session. Warm-up il most common questions endokku aayirikkum ningalku ellarkku ariyayirikkum. You all will be knowing it by now because you are practicing it, and then you will be having lots of guides, or you will be given lots of materials by your institutes or online classes, right? So make a vocabulary list with yourself, right? Include new vocabulary and their synonyms. This will help you not only in your speaking as well as in your writing. Writing will help you in your task 1 and your task 2, right? Okay, the last tip for your lexical resource or your vocabs. Group new words in relation to general everyday topics and practice using these. Example, vocabulary for talking about hobbies, daily routine, food, etc. Include phrasal verbs, idioms as well. So you know it, right? Most of the warm-up il most common questions choikinendo hobbies aayirikkum, your daily routine, the food, what you do, what you don't do, your likes and your dislikes, right? Aa samayathe try to include phrasal verbs and idioms as well. Not only here, even if you can use these phrasal verbs in your part 2, that is your cue card or your task card session, and also in your part 3, that's your follow-up session, it's going to help you, right? But make sure when you're using idioms, it should sound naturally, it should come out naturally, it should sound natural. It shouldn't come out as you're forcing them to come out to get a better score. That's not going to help you. Nammal idiom force idittu, okay, if I put in an idiom, I'll get a good band as 7, 7.5 or 8. No, it's not going to come out like that. Adangane work cheyathilla. It should come out naturally with the context that you're talking about. So make sure you practice it, and you know when you should put an idiom. You should know when you should put an idiom. Ed samayatha nammal aa idiom parendiya, you should know it. Fair enough. So now let's move over to the next slide. So we have done with grammar. That was the first fluency and coherence. Now we have finished off with your lexical resource, that's your vocabs. Now the third is your grammatical range and accuracy, your grammar. So the first point, what is it? The first tip, focus on the range of language. Do not waste time thinking out of the box ideas. You can present the simplest of ideas using a variety of grammatical structures. Example, I am taking IELTS today. IELTS to study abroad versus I have decided to take the IELTS exam as I want to study in an English speaking country. Fair enough. So the first one is too common, the second one is more complicated, but it sounds much better, where you can get a better band score. So I am taking IELTS to study abroad. That's too common and doesn't sound good. In the meantime, if you read the second one, it says I have decided to take the IELTS exam as I want to study in an English speaking country. So which sounds better? Randamatele. Same thing, അടുത്ത ടിപ്പ് നമുക്ക് നോക്കാം. Accurate use of complex sentences, that is combination of more than one clause agam information about the subject increases your chances of getting a higher band score. Example ആണ്, it was in January 2021 that I decided to take the IELTS as I realized this is the most trusted exam to give evidence of your language proficiency. Right? If you plan to move to a native English speaking country. So how does it sound now? Much better, right? Because you're using a combination of more than one clause and information about a subject, that's IELTS, your speaking proficiency test. Okay. Artha tip nokam. Take tense clues from the question and respond in the same tense. Example, what did you like doing the most when you were in school? Right? That's a thing that you have already completed, school already carrying you. That's in the past tense. Did when you were in school, past tense. So, take tense clues from the question and respond in the same way. So, the question itself gives you the clue. Past tense aana did under where in school. So, already carrying you sambhavana when you were way back in the school. So, you can immediately make it out. You should be answering this in the past tense. Are things likely to change in the next 10 years? Future tense aanallo. You can make it how likely to. For speculation, next 10 years. Right? It's not happening now. It's not happened in the past. It's kariyitilla. Ippa nadakkunnu illa, not in the present. But something that's going to happen in the next 10 years. That's future tense. So, you can always take clues from your question itself and make sure to answer it in the same tense. Past aanengi past ithanne irikkan nokkanam. If it's something that's to do with the present tense, example, your hobby, are you pursuing or what are you studying now? Angane okke aanengi it's in the present tense. And something that is to be predicted or something that you're planning to do in the future, make sure you take clues from your question itself and answer it in the same tense in the future tense. Okay, அடுத்த tip நமக்கு நோக்கம். Let's look into the other tip. Correct yourself when you realize you have made a mistake. Remember, errors and band scores are inversely proportional. That is, fewer the errors, higher the band scores and vice versa. So, self-correction is fine, but every time going ahead with self-correction is not good. So, if it's gone by something that's a big mistake and you corrected it, the examiner will come to know. But each and every time you try correcting yourself, that is a mistake, that's a language barrier. So, make sure too much of self-correction is also not right. So, keep it in a minimum way. So, the fewer, the better. Because you're going to get a better band score. Okay. And record yourself while practicing. Notice if errors affect understanding, as these can bring your scores down. So, as I നേരത്തെ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ, try to record yourself while practicing. And self-correction cheyalo. You can assess yourself. Notice if errors affect. ഏതെങ്കിലും errors വരുന്നുണ്ടോ, ഏതെങ്കിലും 4 parameters, 4 criteria, right? And try to understand and then how you can overcome it by practicing more, or what are the pronunciation related or grammar related ano adu nokkite practice cheyittu try to bring up your scores, because if you don't practice, it's not going to help you. Okay, last tip ivide nokka. Refer to a good resource and revise key grammar areas in which proper people mostly make mistakes, such as use or non-use of articles, models for different functions, conditionals, and word order in sentences. So, there are lots of publications that come out with grammar books. Go ahead, or online online you have plenty of them. So, you can go ahead, refer to them, and then try to increase your grammatical range and accuracy. Work on your grammar. Okay, so now let's go over to the last one, that is your pronunciation. That is also one key criteria that you are marked on. This also has a weightage of 25%. So, how can some tips for your pronunciation? Most importantly, first thing is relax. Do not rush. This helps display features of pronunciation clearly. So, if you're relaxed and you're not that anxious, the pronunciation comes out naturally. Right? You will not be too fast or too slow. It will come out. You will be speaking in a a normal rate of speech and you will be pronouncing each word correctly. Right. അടുത്ത ടിപ്പ് ഏതാണെന്ന് നോക്കാം. Make sure you sound natural. Do not try to speak in a different accent. Don't try to imitate the examiner. That's one thing I always said before also. Speak natural. Don't worry about the accent. Don't try to speak in a different accent. If the examiner or the examiner who's evaluating you speaks in a different accent, don't try to imitate them. Be natural because the examiners are trained. Avarkariya that you have your native language is not English, you must be speaking Malayalam or any other language, be it. So don't worry about the accent. Just sound natural the way you speak, but make sure your pronunciation is clear. Don't rush on it. Speak at a normal rate of speech. Practice and apply intonations in your speech. This refers to the rise as well as the fall in your tone. There are some words that needs to be given a more stress. Chela words chela stress koodal kodukanam namakku, right? So make sure the rise and the fall in your tone should be known to the examiner. When the examiner listens to you, he understands this is what you meant. Speaking in a monotone without any expression makes it difficult for your listener to understand your ideas. Very true. Ore bole samsarikkumbo, when there is expression of happiness, it should come out in your word as well. When there is sadness, it should show in your word as well. So there should be expressions in your word. So where to stress and where there is a rise and a fall, that all affects your band scores. That is your pronunciation as well. Refer to a standard dictionary like Cambridge, Oxford, or the Logmans, or the Macmillan to find the correct sound of individual words and how the sound changes for different word forms and in word families. Apps on the different apps on the, you can refer all of them. This is going to help you in your pronunciation. Be careful to apply correct word stress. This is especially important in case of homographs, words with same spelling but different sounds and meaning or form. Incorrect word stress can change the meaning and affect understanding. Example, content is different and content is different. Right? The content of a comma or a mixture, a content and then content. Spelling is the same but the pronunciation. In the first one, in content, the stress is on con, the first three words, syllables. In the second, content is a verb and the stress is on ten, the last three, or the one before the last, the three before the last. So make sure you know where to give stress. If you are practicing, this will come out naturally. So apply sentence stress to focus on the content word or key messages of the sentence. For example, I am ready for the IELTS exam. Not sure about others. And now you can say, I am ready for the IELTS exam. All set to take the exam. I am ready for the IELTS exam only for IELTS. So it depends how you and where you give your stress. Chunking is extremely important as it breaks sentences into chunks of information for better clarity. It indicates the beginning and end of a sentence. Record and listen to check if you are chunking the right way. So, eppada break cheyandi, eppada namakku chunk cheyandi. Make sure when you are practicing, make sure you look into all these. And the last one is watch television or listen to the radio with standard English mode. Right? This is the most effective way to learn accurate pronunciation. So watch English, not in Malayalam, obviously not in your mother tongue, but in English. Right? Try to watch and listen, and if it's difficult in the beginning, subtitles on aki vakwa, that's going to help you a lot. So these were the 4 key tips for all your 4 criteria that I had prepared today. So hope this helps you in your speaking test and your future IELTS examination. So I'm going to meet you next time with my next live session. So I'm going to sign off today. This is Monkurin signing off from Tiju's Academy, Tiruvalla. Take care. Goodbye.